What's up, everybody? Hello, hello. Welcome to another live guided practice session. My name's Adam Manis. I'm the creative director here at Open Studio. We are about to practice. Before we do, please put in the chat where you are practicing from in the world. I'm in beautiful St. Louis, Missouri. It's a bit chilly still, but I'm here. I'm at my keyboard. I encourage you to get to your piano, to your keyboard, to your Rhodes. Maybe if you're in Antarctica and you got a Rhodes, which we've had before. This is also a good session for guitarists and even mallet players, vibes players, marimba players, xylophonists, accordionists. Well, maybe not. Maybe. Peter Martin's in the house in U City, all the way across town. San Francisco's in the house. Jersey's in the house. Mexico's in the house. The UK's in the house. Phil's in Atlanta. What's up, Colleen? Snowy Colorado. Corsica's in the house. Yao Ming. What's going on? From London. Wendy's in the house from Long Island. West Texas represent. San Francisco represent. Leslie in Boulder. We got St. Pete. We got people from all over the planet. Chow from Rome. It's a nice town. KC's in the house across the state. Kazakhstan, what's up? Yeah, Celeste players are definitely welcome on this. Arkansas, down below us here. Cleveland. Taiwan's up in here. Kazoo player is not going to work. Frederico, nope. NYC's always in the house, always representing. Bay Area's always representing. Anchorage, Alaska, always representing. I'll just keep it going. Devon, Madrid, Wolfsburg, Germany, Toronto. Toronto's in the house. San Diego. The UP. Nigeria. What's up, friend? Chicago's up in here. Tokyo's up in here. Tokyo, one of the great cities in the history of the world. Sweden, Germany, Portugal. More Florida. What's up, everybody? Go ahead, too, and click that like and subscribe right now. Let's spread the word here. YouTube pushes it around if we like and subscribe. So don't forget to smash that like button. You know what I mean? Little sound check. Can you hear the piano? Everything sound good? Yeah? It's good to see y'all. Nice big group here. Thanks for being here, everybody. We're going to work on some elegant chords today. Some drop 2 chords. I think you're going to dig it. So come on through. We got 2 minutes and 10 seconds left before we start. I'll try to get my hands warm here. Santa Cruz, Jakarta, Germany, Vancouver up in here, Austria up in here. Austria. Notice how closely I got to saying Australia, but I pivoted right at the last minute. They look so similar. Serbia, what's going on? Joe's here. That's good. Cool. Sounds good. All right. Nice. More high mids, Jay. I don't have that kind of bandwidth right now to be EQ and stuff, but I'll just, when I get to the high mids, I'll give it a big punch. How about that? Cape Cod's in the house. That's a beautiful place. We got a bunch of Open Studio Pro folks here in the house as well. If you want to be in the group here, be in the in crowd, you might check out an Open Studio membership. We do have a free trial that you can try. So if you go to openstudiojazz.com, you can always try for free for 14 days. Open Studio. Give it a shot. Oh, Geocosmic Valentine, Wendy, thank you. Yeah, we had a great time with You'll Hear It Live last weekend. We were in New York City to a lovely crowd of folks. Got to spend time with a bunch of people after the show, too. It was great. Colleen says, I see now it is just GPS, not DGPS. Well, this isn't daily, Colleen. This is bi-monthly, every other week. +1 for Open Studio Pro. Open Studio Pro is awesome. Minnesota's in the house. Philadelphia. Guanajuato, Mexico. No, Guanajuato, Mexico. Sorry, it's hard to see. Jay lost his hearing at a Michael McDonald concert. Oh, no. All right, everybody. Get to your instrument. We're about ready to go here. Let's get to it. Here we go. I'm going to clap, and we're going to start. You know, there's nothing wrong with some clustery chords down low. They sound awesome. But if you want a bit of an elegant sound, you might try some chords that are time-tested. They're a tenth delivery device. You can play melodies with them. You can comp with them. You can play thick chords. Play very, very consonant chords, very, very dissonant chords. They're just really fun to play. Of course, I'm speaking of drop 2 chords. The most elegant chords. I'm not eloquent, but these chords are elegant. The most elegant chords, I believe, there are. Drop 2 chords. That's what we're practicing today. This is a guided practice session. It is brought to you by Open Studio, and we are practicing the elegant chords today. Drop 2 chords. So get to your instrument because we're going to be practicing together. We're going to start with a brief warm-up, and we're going to practice a couple of really cool drop 2 ideas that I put down on paper together. And I'm going to run our metronome here. We're going to be using Drum Genius. This is a Zigaboo Modal Leste beat from Zigaboo Modal Least beat, from Just Kiss My Baby from the Meters. And we are going to use that as our metronome today. It's going to be a blast. So join me, get to your instrument. Let's go. Before you do that though, however, you might like and subscribe if you like these kind of drop 2 guided practice sessions. I certainly do. You might also download the PDF. That's in the description. That's yours free to take home with you. It's everything we're working on today. And join me as we start to warm up. Before we do that though, let's talk a little bit about what we're going to be working on today. We're going to be working on drop 2 voicings. I'm going to explain what drop 2 voicings are, but more than that, we're just going to play it. We're going to be able to hear it for ourselves. We're going to put it in our hands in some really interesting ways. We're going to realize that these voicings are a tense delivery device, meaning that they're here for us to play melodic lines in tense, but put a chord in between. And I'm going to show you exactly what that means. And then we're going to use what we're calling the backdoor cadence. So we have a 5/1 cadence version of all the drop 2 exercises that I have. And we have a backdoor version, which is a little bit of modal interchange. And I'll talk about that as well. We have 3 levels of what we're working on today. 3 different levels of drop 2 voicings, all on a simple 5/1 cadence or a backdoor cadence. And I think you're really going to enjoy that. Before we get to it though, let's have a little warm up. I'm freezing down here in my basement studio, so I just want to warm up a little bit. We're going to use the same Zigaboo beat here from Just Kiss My Baby as our warm up. We're going to do a chromatic scale starting on C3 with our left hand and C4, middle C with our right. I just want to do 8th notes to start, going up and down 2 octaves. Now you can do whatever fingering you like, but I'm going to do a very simple fingering that uses just a few fingers. 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 2, 3 in my right hand. In my left hand, 1, 3, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3. And we're going to do 8th notes and just keep it with that sort of like claw hammer motion to warm up. 2 octaves up and down, 8th notes. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, now that we've heard the scale, I want you to take a big deep breath, the biggest deep breath that you've taken all day. We're going to leave the metronome rolling here. Let's try it right here. 1, 2, 3, and 4 and. One more big deep breath. We're just warming up. We're just touching the instrument. This isn't meant to be challenging. This is meant to open up our ears, open up our bodies. One more big deep breath for me. Don't cheat yourself. Okay. Let's do the same chromatic scale. I want to do it 1 octave, but we're going to put a little bit of a roadblock there. I said that these drop 2 voicings we're going to be practicing today, they're a tenth delivery device. Let's practice in tenths. So in my left hand, I have that C. I'm going to move my right hand from middle C up to the E, a major third above it. And we're going to do our chromatic scale up and down just an octave. Let's start with quarter notes very, very slowly. Stop. I can't stress how important slow practice is for learning new things. So if this is your first time practicing a chromatic scale, there is no shame in doing quarter notes. In fact, that's what I would do, and I've been doing this my whole life. Even today, I would start very, very slowly. So let's do quarter notes here, like 1, 2, 3, 4, just up and down 1 octave. We'll speed it up, but let's try it here. 1, 2, 3. Down. Let's try that again. 2, 3, and. See if you can make them strike at exactly the same time and be even in volume. Let's try some triplets, like dot 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 dot. Right there. 1, 2. Sorry. Let's not do that first. Let's do eighth notes first. Sorry, eighth notes first, then eighth note triplets. So this will be like dot 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 dot. Let's try that. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Do that again. 2, 3. One more time here. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Okay, for our more advanced players, now let's get to those triplets. Didn't want to skip those eighth notes. Try those triplets. Da, 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 da. 1, 2, triplet, and. Do it again. 1, 2, triplet, and. One more time. 1, 2, triplet, and. Okay, for our very advanced players, let's try some 16th notes. We'll just do this a couple times. 2, sha 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 sha. One more time. 2, sha 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 sha. Nice. Well done. We don't want to spend a ton of time at the faster tempos. We want to spend way more time at the slower tempos than we do at the faster tempos. And in fact, we might not ever practice up to a full tempo. I was just having a conversation with Peter Martin, who's here in the chat, one of our favorite all-time jazz pianists, and he says he almost never practices at full speed. It's all slow, and then you can fly on the gig. So we just spend a ton of time slow, and then we take it a little bit faster if we have to. Okay, let's get to our first exercise, before we actually get to the exercise, let's just talk about what drop 2 is. This whole practice session is going to be based off of drop 2. So let's have a look at a very basic way to find drop 2. So here we have, this is like an F major 7 four-way close voicing, right? You've got F, A, C, and E. It's an inversion, but it's all of the notes of an F major 7. F, A, C, E. Bam. Now, drop 2 means that we drop the second note from the top. And I know it's confusing because oftentimes we talk about building chords from the bottom up, but for whatever reason, it's named this and it's been named this forever. So when people say drop 2, this is what they mean. You drop the second note from the top. In this case, it's the F, and we drop it down in the octave. And for the piano, we put that in our left hand. We do 3 notes in the right and 1 note in the left. You could do 2 notes in each hand, but I like to do this for a couple of different reasons. One, I like to swipe to emote with my left hand, scooping up, or putting a little grace note on it. Also, if you put it here in your, if you put 1 note in your left hand, that leaves room down at the bottom of your hand here, as you can see my hand on the overhead, to play bass notes, right? So this could be just your chord that you move around, but you're able to keep a bass note here. So it's actually a 5-note voicing, and we'll talk a little bit about that in our exercise. The easiest way to find drop 2, like if you have a big spread voicing, notice that this is a big spread voicing, and notice that the outer notes are a major 10th apart. Bam, right? If you are wondering, wait, is this drop 2 or drop 3 or drop 4? The easiest way to tell is to take the lowest note and put it up an octave. If it's the second note from the top, it's drop 2. If it were this, if it were E in the bottom and F on the top, and you put the F up, that's drop 3. And this is drop 4, just the 4th note, right? So it's really mostly you just see drop 2 and drop 3, but you can do drop anything, honestly. Here's another example here. Here's like a B flat major 7 in root position. If we want to do drop 2, we take the second note from the top, bam, we drop it down, we put it in the left hand. And again, notice that it's still that 10th, right? Drop 2 doesn't have to be intense, but that's the way we're going to use it today. We're going to, again, be using it as a 10th delivery device. You could, of course, have not a major or minor 10th. You could have a 9th, is often the case, or sometimes the case. But as you can see, we want to keep this as a 10th device, because a 10th device means that you're basically, you have a melody on top and you have a harmony below, right? A 10th is like a third over the octave. So it's like you're playing melodies in thirds, but with an octave in between. And so drop 2 voicings give us this option to do that harmonizing of a melody with a 10th below, but a chord in the middle. It's just beautiful. It's a gorgeous way to move around the chord. So here we have our F major 7, our B flat major 7, 2 examples of drop 2. Okay, I've got 3 different levels here of drop 2 exercises, and I wanted to do this in a couple of different steps. Here's level 1. Here's our level 1 exercise. It's our 5-1 cadence. And notice we've got a C7. You could also call that C7 sus. But remember, C7 sus is just part of C7, and C7 can always be sussed out. So there's really we're not going to talk much about extensions. We're not going to do C13 or C9. It's all just kind of C dominant sound, a 5 chord to a 1 chord. And we might have sometimes on the 1 chord, even the major 9. We're not going to specify. It's all sort of F major-ish, and we can do whatever extensions we want depending on where we are with the drop 2. So here I have our very first step here, and it's a very simple C7 sus voicing here. We're just kind of splashing around is what we called it. Remember a couple weeks ago we talked about splashing around? So we're going to have a C in the bass. Remember I talked about how if we have our 1 note in the left hand, we can add the roots if we need to. If there's a bass player, you might not. You might just let the bass player play the C. This could also be a G minor too, by the way. It could be a 2 chord. We're just going to call it a C7 sus. Bam. And an F major 7. So let's do our first exercise here, and we're going to build on this. This is just the start. Let's try it here, just vamping on this very first 2 bars. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll add the roots, so don't worry about that if you can't reach it. Try it again. Now this is what you could play, say, if you had a C7 to an F. This is something that you would be able to play as a accompanist or even as a soloist if you wanted to solo with drop 2 on just a simple 5-1, right? It's a C7, you can play these drop 2 voicings. 2 more times here. Once more. Okay, let's have a look here at how we're gonna really get our drop 2 sound. So now we have these shapes, and we're really blocking for our hands, like we're getting the shapes, but what we wanna do is start moving the outside notes. This is where drop 2 becomes, really amazing. So this C7, we're gonna drop the F down to E and the A down to G. Notice that, right? That's that C dominant 9 shape if we put a C down there, right? We're gonna do the same thing for this second shape, right? We were here, bam, we dropped those outside notes down a diatonic. And by diatonic, I mean from that C7 scale or that F major scale. We're all just in F major here. We're all splashing around in F major. Bam. So now we have this boom, 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 boom. And again, we have the bottom part of our left hand free, so we could put the root of the chord if there's no bass player. Let's try this with the metronome. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Try it again. 2, 3. How good is that? So again, just to clarify, so the chord symbols here, these are not descriptive of what's happening, right? We're not describing the sheet music with the chord symbols. What we have here is, if we have a C7 to F, you can play what I have written here. You can play this. It's a great 5-1 drop 2 cadence, right? So if you're kind of tripping up like, wait, it says C7, but it's a sus, and I don't understand. No. If you see a C7, you can play. All of these notes are part of that C dominant scale, the C mixolydian scale. You can play all of these beautiful C sus to C7 voicings in drop 2 over a C7 to F, right? So again, the chord change here, it's not descriptive. We're not describing what we're playing. We're saying, oh, if we have a C7 F, we can play this. This sounds amazing. Let's try it again, that second example. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Isn't that great? One more time. And again, because I have all of this room in my left hand, I can do the roots. I can also do some grace notes, little spliffs, right? And I can also do some scooping. Just scooping up chromatically. Isn't that awesome? Okay, so this isn't the end of level 1, because while this is a very basic 5-1, I want to do everything that we're doing today on our 5-1 cadences. What if we used a backdoor cadence? What if we subbed out that C7 for the backdoor dominant? So the backdoor dominant is always from a major second below the tonic, right? It's always that flat 7 dominant, in this case E7 to F major, right? Famously on things like a backdoor 2-5, right? is B flat 7 to C. You could also do, of course, E flat 7 to F, going to F. We could do the same thing. So here's our E flat 7. It's the same thing, just up a minor third. And it's modal interchange as well. We're borrowing from the key of F minor. You don't need to know any of that. We just need to know how it sounds. Let's try this first example here and just vamp it. 1, 2, 3, 10. Listen to this. We got a new F major sound here. We're just taking everything up a minor third. We're taking that F up diatonically in a third. But notice it's that same suspended voicings, the same shapes, and it's all over that E flat mixolydian, E flat dominant scale, right? All of these notes on the E flat 7 are just from E flat dominant. We're splashing around in E flat dominant. Let's try the second example here where we're going to move those outside notes. Check it out. You know what I mean? Come on now. Spiff it. Spliff it. How good is that? And again, our E flat 7 chord here, it's not like prescribing, or sorry, it's not describing what we have written, although this is part of the E flat 7, our E flat 7 color palette. It's like saying if you have an E flat 7, if you have a backdoor cadence, which are very common, these backdoor cadences, you can use these shapes. They sound so good, right? We've got this sus E flat 7, sus, to this like B flat minor 7 shape, right? So, and we have two now, right? That's the C7 there, and then we have our. And by the way, if you have like a 2-5-1 to F, you could use the C7. You could also sub out, even if the bass player is playing a C, do that E flat 7 over that. It's gonna sound great. It's gonna sound great. Isn't that neat? All right, that is level 1 for the 5-1 and for the backdoor. Level 2, we have a little bit longer of a cadence, and we just want to practice again blocking these shapes. Again, the C7, it's not descriptive of what you're seeing here, but these are all notes of that C dominant 7 scale, and I'm just keeping the shape here in our first example, moving it up. And again, we are definitely going to be moving these outside notes all around. And then we're going to land on our F major 7. All of this in drop 2. Let's try our top example here, the first example. 1, 2, 3. I'll play a root for you. C7. Super easy. We're just blocking these shapes. These are the main shapes of what we're going to be practicing. Again, so elegant, aren't they? It's just like they sound so good all the time. Scoop it up. Okay, let's move those outside notes. Let's try that bottom. Put a root down for you. How good is that? You can put some rhythm on this too. Try it again. Yeah. And notice those outside notes are all moving in tenths here. You can spliff it. It is 420. You know, it's like a spliff. Like spliff, sploot. You can scoop it. Again, everything moving there in tenths, right? Last time. our backdoor for level 2 here. It's the exact same shapes. We're just moving it up to E flat 7 as that backdoor cadence. You're gonna like this. Try the top one first. You can get those major shapes in, block out the big shapes. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. And we've got our F major that has that C on top. Again. Okay, this is all like E flat 7 sus. One more time here. Okay, let's move these outside notes here. Check this out. A flat. How great is that? Again. I'll put a root down for you. Again. Adding a little rhythm to it. One more time. So good. So again, like, you can get it up to speed, and these become, if you, again, you can substitute this E flat 7 for a C7, right? When you start moving these around, either one. It's so good. It's so smooth. That 10th motion is just so incredible. Okay, one more level. You all ready? Level 3, not for the faint of heart. We're not even going to block it. This is a little bit more advanced, but this is absolutely gorgeous. I'll play it for you here. Thinking all C7 sus. Just splashing around in the C7. Keeping a very similar shape. Notice that the inside notes are always kind of like a third, right? The inside notes in the right hand. And notice what those thirds are doing. They're kind of playing all of the sort of C7 sus shape in there, right? Try it with me. 2, 3. Try it again. And notice too that we're holding those inside notes, those thirds. We're holding them as we move the outside notes. So here, hold them down. Little half step slip and slide there. Spliffs. Try it again. Again, and this is not, you know, it says C7 sus here, which these are all, you can call these part of C7, but it's really like if you have a C7 sus or even a G minor 7, you know, to a C7, you can play this kind of thing. These like sus, you're really just, but imagine if you're comping for someone. Started to swing it there, but you could hear this, right? It just becomes like you're comping melodies and you're harmonizing the melody. Let's check out our level 3 with the backdoor. This is very, very good. Ready? So it's everything we just did, but we have E flat 7 sus instead of our C7. This is our drum genius metronome, by the way. Sigaboo Mona Lisa from Just Kiss My Baby. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, and. How good is that? Little modal interchange. Try it again. Remember about drop 2 is like for this line here that we're playing, you know, I've got to work here at Open Studio. I've got to work closely with Peter Martin and Jeffrey Keyser, and they know what drop 2 is kind of, but they don't ever think about it like this. They're really thinking tenths, right? Oscar Peterson too. You could tell he's thinking tenths. He's not thinking some kind of elaborate drop 2 system. He's just harmonizing a line. Right? And he's putting chords in that are part of like the E flat 7 here, right? So that you don't have to be so like robotic with this. It's like if you can splash around in a key. I'm just thinking E flat 7. I'm trying to keep tenths in the outside notes, and I'm adding notes of E flat 7 in between. Trying to anyway. But that's really what's going on, is you can play a line in tenths. A couple more times here on our very last line. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. So don't feel like you have to follow some kind of elaborate system of drop 2. You can actually just explore and find what works for you. In fact, that can be a very effective tool. Adding some little chromatic stuff. Some rhythm. 2 more times here. Last time. There it is. There's our practice session for today. How'd you do? I love that drop 2 sound. In fact, I do these practice sessions usually doing something that I'm working on in my own personal practice because they're usually most effective. It's if I'm passionate about it and learning it, you know, as you're learning it too, as we're kind of working on it together, right? Discovering things together. Music and the piano and all this stuff, it's just a constant unfolding. It's just a constant discovery. Even when you think you know something, there's always these layers that get revealed, you know, and drop 2 is one of these shapes, these 10th shapes that it just is endless what you're going to find, especially if you're curious. And if you, like I said, if you think more melodically about those outside lines and try to fill in the harmony in between, you're going to find your own sounds with this. If you think about it too much as like a structured, this must be these notes here and this voicing A and voicing C2, it's going to be just a nightmare to try to remember in every key. If you can get more fluent with the keys themselves and more fluent with all of the notes in between, I think that is where some real gold is found with this. So thank you. I'll be back in 2 weeks with another live guided practice session. It's a joy practicing with you. And please put in the comments what you would like to practice next. Put it in the chat. Put it in the comments below. What would you like to practice here on our Open Studio live guided practice sessions? I'm down to do just about anything. So hit me up. All right. Thanks, y'all. Chat, stay around. Cool. Thanks, everybody. Chayla says, I like the idea of splashing around in a key. Keep the shapes, think tense, and grab a chord with the key. So Chayla, I think that's exactly what people like Oscar Peterson and Art Tatum were doing, is they're splashing around. They're not, just beholden to some kind of theory and system. They're playing tense. They're doing all, because you can hear Bill Evans too. They're doing all these tense, and then they might throw in a chord, and they'll abandon the chord to play tense. So it's not just this like, we got to keep everything in this. I mean, if you're writing an arrangement for like a saxophone section, then yeah, maybe you could do all the voices in drop 2 and everything goes very smoothly in like a 6 diminished kind of scale of chords way. But if you're playing, you really want, that's why I wanted to do the things like where you can see that it's mostly the line, not the chord. You know what I mean? Splash practice. I love it. I love that. And now all 12 keys. That's right. Lise says, great comping application, 100%. Like you can go through a rhythm changes with just drop 2. You can really practice like trying to just do chord voicings. What's great about drop 2 is when you start splashing, you're able to create melodies. And again, moving around in these tenths. And then if you know some Barry Harris stuff, you can also, of course, do some 6 diminished things. Like if we have a 2 chord, our G minor, or our C7. I almost put some of this stuff in, but I didn't want to put a hat on a hat for this session. So obviously you have your G minor, but you also have that F sharp diminished, which becomes this other thing. All that stuff. I'm just reading through the comments here. Alez says, how often when you comp do you play the root? Pretty often, actually. Depending on where I am. But some voicings, like this C7 voicing, right? It sounds good like that. And we can certainly do rootless, but with this C here, this is C3. This isn't going to get in the way of any bass player. So this like C7 to F, if I'm playing with a bass player, I'm 100% doing this. F is in the root, Even this C7, I like some roots. You don't have to do it on every chord for sure if there's a bass player. Or even if there's not a bass player, you don't have to do it on every chord. But I will definitely be, especially if I want punchy voicings. Listen to, I heard Bill Charlap recently live, and I was just amazed at, with a trio, how often he's like, he's like, like really like using the low part of the piano for some like accents, not unlike what McCoy Tyner would do with the, is this in the way of the bass player? It's an effect, right? It's an effect that we can use. Cool. Just reading through this. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Super fun to be with you today. Great stuff. Thanks for the practice. Really appreciate it. Any other questions or comments? The Drum Genius loop that we used was from Zigaboo Modaliste from Just Kiss My Baby. I believe it's called Funky Number 5. Funky 5. Ernest has a good question. How do you manage your fingering movement from one chord to another? So Ernest, that's why we did the blocking. If you can get these shapes, right? If you can kind of, you really have to practice. It's like a leap of faith, lifting your hands up. And we do that because these are almost like positions. And now we can rock these outside notes. Right? So practicing these as and my hands are coming off the keyboard, I want to, right? I want to bring those off. Ovi says, please can you point to the equivalent in Open Studio curriculum? So I do have a whole course called Block Chords Made Easy that has a whole drop to section, Ovi. Block chords, just look up block chords in. Yeah, block chords made easy, Amy. But again, to Shayla's point here, the blocking is key. Like you can go through all of your, like F major, all of these, you know, main positions, inversions. G minor 7. Cool. Great questions, y'all. Awesome. Thanks for being here. Super fun to practice with you. I'll be back in a couple weeks. Oh, Amy says, if you have time for a question about the warm-up. Yeah, what do you got, Amy? While we're waiting, Neptune says, I always see electric basses, guitars in the background. Why don't you make more guitar videos? Well, we don't have a in-house like guitarist at Open Studio all the time, Neptune, but we do have a ton of courses on guitars from Peter Sprague, Romero Lubambo, Dan Wilson, and Chris Parks. So we have 4 guitarists that have made choruses with us. And Chris Parks is our guitarist at Open Studio Pro. He's teaching, I think, like 5 or 6 classes every week. So we do have a very robust guitar program. I don't teach guitar, and we don't have as much guitar on YouTube as the other instruments, for sure. Amy says, how do you get to where you can run Chromatic without looking, especially with hands going on different notes? Well, it's a boring answer, Amy, but it's just repetition. It's knowing I'm not thinking about anything here. It's why we did it so slowly. Once your fingers just automatically can play this scale together. And you could practice in thirds as well. In fifths. Slowly. Right? Maybe even slower than this. Practice in sixths. Whatever interval. That's why the chromatic scale is so great for this. Major 6. Starting here, like with your left hand on E and your right hand on C. Amy Amy says, one hand is easy, two together never seems to improve. Go slow, Amy. Go really slow. Whatever you want to improve on, do it every day as long as you can and go as slow as you can every day. Colleen makes a good point. Chris is up in 10 minutes here. So Ham says, can you play the Hendrix equivalent on piano? Yeah. How about that? Cool. Hope that helps, Amy. All right, everybody. I will be back in a couple weeks with another one of our GPS lives here on YouTube. These are so much fun. Thanks for all the great questions. Thanks for all the great comments. I'll see you later. Cheers.